morning. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. My name is not Jenny Melqueen. It is Elise Henricks, and I am a newly minted member of the worship committee. Yay! First Parish is a vibrant, welcoming congregation that welcomes all people to grow deep faith and take bold action. We're so glad you're here with us today. This sanctuary is made holy by your presence. If you're joining us for the first time, please take a welcome packet from the pew rack. This information has more information about our services and our childcare. If you fill out the yellow card inside the packet and drop it in the offering plate, you'll receive our weekly email newsletter, which can help you get to know us better. The greeters and ushers, which I believe is entirely made up of Kian and Richard Venable today, are both wearing colorful tags, and they'll be standing by the doors after worship is over. Please see them after church, and they can walk you to social hour, which I believe is going to be lemonade out on the lawn over here after church, and answer any questions you may have. We strive to make our worship experience accessible to people of all ages and abilities. The welcome card in your pew provides information on this, or you can speak with an usher. Keon knows a lot about this church, so he can let you know about it. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship, so I draw your attention to the printed announcements that came along with your order of worship. These announcements are important news of our community life, so please take a look. One important announcement is that next, is it Saturday or Sunday? The 22nd, at 4 o'clock, there is a groundbreaking for Temple Shalom, which we invite everyone to join and support the great work that they will be doing there. Please look for more information in the weekly email blast about that. Extending a generous welcome is a spiritual practice. I invite all to extend that welcome to our neighbors by taking a few minutes to greet them. Sure.
Meditation on the middle of the week will continue through the summer, but we haven't got it shifted to 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, so we're not competing with the big band concerts at 7. So please join us if you are listening.
So please greet each other, and while you're doing so, if you feel moved, please move forward to the front of the church so we can all be together.
Let's continue to warm the sanctuary with our voices as we sing Bring Many Names, number 23 in your gray hymnal. We'll sing, Please Rise in Body or Spirit. And I'll thank you not to notice the irony as we sing verses 1, 3, and 5 of this hymn. Sadie Leggett lights our chalice this morning. Please join in saying our call to worship. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together. Our opening words this morning are a poem called My Father's Diary by Sharon Olds. I get into bed with it and spring the scarab legs of its locks. Inside, the stacked, shy wealth of his print. He could not write in script, so the pages are sturdy with the beam work of printedness.
Dinner. Went to try out some new tennis rackets. Lunch with Mom.
Life of ease, except when he spun his father's DeSoto on the ice, and a young tree whirled up to the hood, throwing up her arms until...
Lois. Played tennis with Lois. Lunch with Mom and Lois. Lois liked the car. Driving with Lois. Long drive with Lois.
And then...
Lois! I can't believe it. She is so good, so sweet, so generous. I have never... What have I ever done to deserve such a girl?
Between the dark legs of the capitals, moonlight, soft tines of printed letter gentled apart. Nectar drawn from serif. The self of the grown boy pouring out. The heart's charge, the fresh man kneeling in pine needle weave, worshiping her. It was my father good. It was my father grateful. It was my father dead, who had left me these small structures of his young brain. He wanted me to know him. He wanted someone to know him. We don't always or often celebrate Father's Day in worship. Mother's Day is just as tricky. And it's not because we don't love and appreciate the amazing act of parenting, whatever the gender, that people devote their lives with no special training or instruction to the care of the bodies and spirits of little ones, with no guarantee that anything's going to turn out as planned, as hoped for, as worked for. We know from receiving care and from giving it what a tough and sometimes thankless job parenting is. And we're grateful, especially today, for the dads who cuddle away the nightmares of toddlers, change diapers and shop for cleats, who bend puzzled over homework and show up for soccer, basketball, field hockey, football, baseball, hockey, basketball games, swim meets, recitals, plays, concerts, or even just do a couple of things really well. Are we not grateful for them? The complicated thing about these holidays, though, is that they, or we, tend to lift up an ideal, one that no one can really fully be, none that can't be fully met by any real person, that leaves little space for all of the ways we humans really are. And we, moms, dads, whomever is supposed to be lifted up, and often those who are supposed to be doing the lifting up, though our hearts might be full of disappointment, of loss, or grief for what never was, we're left not really knowing each other in the shadow of those great ideals, missing the chance to get real, to draw close, to get to a deeper understanding. I'd like to suggest this morning that the spiritual work the world needs, has always needed, will always need, fits neatly right into this space between who we wish we were and who we are, between who we think our neighbors ought to be and who they are, between our heartbreak and our hope, in how to live with and embrace the truth of who we are while living into who we yet could be. Lives depend on this work of our souls and always have. Our human family needs this healing, and we are called to take our place in it. We may disagree, but we are one family.
So as ever, I'm going to invite the congregation to sing with us. And there's one part, that first part that's listed in your bulletin. We may disagree, but we are one family is repeated all the way through. And Claudia and Frank are going to be leading that part. But I always find it helpful to just speak the words first, and then learn the rhythms, and then we'll layer on the notes. So let's just read those words together and then close this up, because I'm going to be saying it over and over again. We may disagree, but we are one family. Let's do it one more time. Close your program. We may disagree, but we are one family. So the rhythm is like this. We may disagree. Can you say that? We may disagree. Again, we may disagree, but we are one family. We may disagree, but we are one family. Again, we may disagree, but we are one family. This time look around, people. We may disagree, but we are one family. You got it. We're going to be believing this by the time we're done singing it. We'll start with it. So we'll probably sing this through a couple of times, more like 4 or 5 times before. Yeah, okay, that's okay. Let's do this. So you're going to hear the other parts layered in. If you really take to one of these new parts, please feel free to join in. And we're going to sing this as long as it feels good and until we settle into it. Until it feels good. Until we settle into it and it feels good and it feels like we're really confident with it. Okay, so we may disagree, but we are one family. We may disagree, but we are one family. Join us. We may disagree, but we are one family.
when I announced that I would be leaving First Parish, in my letter I used this long kind of jargony phrase to try to sum up what I felt called to do next. And so, not surprisingly, a lot of you have asked, what is it exactly that you'll be doing? Well, exactly isn't something I'm ready to pin down yet. I thought this morning I would share a little bit of what I have been doing with individuals and groups that I am looking to build into something not quite yet known. Because it has exactly to do with figuring out how to live the fact that we are one family without discounting the fact that we have many differences too, without having to give up our disagreements in order to be in community. So I'd just like to invite you into a little bit of an interactive activity now, to just name some of the big differences, some of the hard oppositions you see in the midst of the world at the moment. You can just shout them out. Religion. Anything specific, like two sides. Name me two sides that are in conflict. Yankees, Red Sox. Republicans, Democrats. Rich, poor. Pardon? Parents, children. Men and women. Guns, right? Pro-gun, anti-gun. Can we say that? Others? Teachers, students. Great. Pro-choice, pro-life. Indeed. Pardon? Old, young. Yes. Pardon? Management, labor. Yes. Common Core and Uncommon Core. We can tell where everybody's from, right? What worlds we occupy outside of church. So let's just take one of those, and then we're going to do a little activity around this. Anyone have a favorite among those? I'm going to take what I first hear. There's two polls. We had men, women, rich, poor. Okay. So I'm going to ask for volunteers. You do not need to say anything. All you need to do is stand. And you have to come forward, but all you need to do is stand. You will not be mocked or made fun of in any way, I promise. I need two volunteers to start. Okay, Jeff wants to be on the rich side. Jeff, come on up and stand right here. Katie, do you want to be over here? You're going to stand right, maybe down the step, yeah, so we don't interfere with this stuff. Okay, and you guys are going to stand and face each other. And I'm going to ask for one thing that people who are rich might think about people who are poor. Remember, we're not talking about these individuals here. We're just talking about general big categories. They're lazy. India, are you comfortable standing for a little bit? Okay, so lazy. And then I'm going to keep going and have people kind of come and line up. What's something that people who are poor might think about people who are rich? Lazy. All right, Andre, come on up. As you say a word, you're going to come and take your place. India, you're going to be over here, and you're going to stand facing Jeff. Jen? Greedy. There you go. Oh, Andre, you're over here. No, you're going to stand in front of Katie. Andre, in front of Jeff, please. Thanks. Snobby. Did I hear snobby? Oh, wait, greedy. Jen, come on up. What? Entitled. Come on up, Claudia. Now, what are some of the stereotypes that folks have about poor people? Not smart. Come on up, Melinda. Pardon? Did I hear another one? Stereotypes about poor people? No, she said entitled. Yeah, in front. One more over here. Uneducated. Come on up, Patricia. You're going to stand right here, Patricia. So now, we just heard a few, right? And we were being kind of polite, because we know that there are lots of things that might get said if young ears weren't listening and if tempers were flaring, right? In our world, we hear these things, right? So I want to know, Katie, can you take a step down now? Katie, can you see Jeff from where you are? If you're not peering around, if you're just standing right there, Okay. Jeff, can you see Katie? You can't at all, right? So this is the state we're usually in, right? Because of all of the ideas that we have layered on top of each other, about each other, we can't even see each other, right? But what happens if each of you takes a step toward the congregation? No, Katie and Jeff, sorry. I'm so terrible with instructions. Okay. Can you guys see each other? Yeah, and what's happened to all this stuff right here? All these people right here? These ideas right here? Have they gone away? They haven't. They're just a little bit to the side, right? So that you guys can see each other. So the work that I try to do with people is to help us know that we're never going to be without all of these ideas, because a lot of them were ingrained in us from the time we were born. They're in the messages that society tells us all around all the time. But we do have the capacity, if we're willing to do it, to step aside a little bit so that we can see each other a little more fully and learn to see past some of those layers of conceptions that we've gotten. Even though they're not going to fully go away, we can will ourselves to know each other a little more deeply. Thank you all of the volunteers, our brave folks. So one of the things, the singers can come up while I'm saying this next part. One of the things I wonder, and I work with groups who are willing to wonder, is what might it take to get to that level of freedom, where we can be seen for all of who we are and not just a part of us. Because we know that there is more to anyone than how much money they have, or what neighborhood they live in, or what color their skin might happen to be, or what kind of accent they bring to speaking English. There are so many more things to all of us than that. So how can we get better at practicing how to see each other that way? Some people call the ability to say what you want, to carry a gun, or to vote freedom. And all of those things are kinds of freedom, to be sure, but the greatest freedom is to be able to be seen in all of who we are, to know that we're held and loved in the breadth of our souls. So what might it like to be in that place? Our singers are going to help take us there.
I have a million nightingales on the branches of my heart. I have a million nightingales on the branches of my heart, singing freedom, 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 singing freedom, freedom. I have a million
I love that image of a tree inside our hearts with branches laden with nightingales. Can you picture that? Lots of little birds held right here in our hearts, singing a sweet song. What would yours be? What would let your heart take flight? I think we each have a song in our hearts that calls us, guides us through life, carries us forward into places we may never have expected to be, holds us when things are rough, and sings for joy when we have something to celebrate. The birds of my heart have sung many songs to me, called me toward different directions, many of them unlikely. Most of the songs have had something to do with a core part of me that I'm always trying to understand. My parents come from two different cultures, Iranian and American, which have not historically or politically been very good at understanding or appreciating each other. So a lot of my life's journey has been about being a bridge, being curious about what might seem to be so different and opposed to what I know, then trying to understand it, to live in and with it until I can see also what part of me might connect with it. Many of you know that when I was 8 years old, my mother and sisters and I came from Iran to the United States just after the Islamic Revolution, but just before the U.S. and Iran became sworn enemies. For a brief few months, we were the exotic foreigners, landing in a small town in the middle of Ohio, from a nation and culture many folks knew very little about. Then the American hostages were taken at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, the capital of Iran, and everything changed. Suddenly, we were suspicious, possibly terrorists. Kids that I had just started making friends with played games of running from me on the playground. She might have a bomb! Bumper stickers appeared saying rude things about Iran. But I knew I was the same person I had been the week before. I knew that Iran was still a place that felt like home, a place with great food, wonderful people, and beautiful mountains. My father told me to stop saying that I was from Iran and start saying I was from Persia, because Americans don't know where Persia is. Sadly, still true to this day. And also because it wasn't to him the same Iran since the Islamic Republic took over. I got so used to downplaying being Iranian, which I will add is also hard to do when your name is Parisa in a land of Marys, Sarahs, and Julies and Jennifers. I was on guard when anyone asked me about my name or where I was from. It was hard for me to know when the intention was good and kind, and so I usually shut off the curiosity as quickly as possible so I just didn't have to find out if they were going to say something nasty or rude. But most people really do have good intentions. I've come to find out these many years later. Most people have no idea, though, when we're acting on our good intentions, that no matter how much our spirit of curiosity and openness and our attempts to be loving can land so wrong for a person who's had so many hurts come their way because of something they can't control about their identity. Something important to remember on Pride weekend, something important to remember when we're dealing with folks who are different economic classes than we are, different genders, different ideas about what it means to be a father or experiences of having one at all. So that person who's asking a simple question, trying to connect, might get a sassy, closed-off response, and that's as far as we get. The story might begin, in my case, I tried to ask her about being Iranian. I guess part of being Iranian is being closed and oversensitive. I don't think I'll ask that again. Doesn't take much, right? I learned to blend in, to act as if that part of me didn't really matter nearly as much as it did, though inside I felt like the choice I had to make was to betray one part of me or another. There are a million examples. Being assertive in school here was what was called disrespectful in Iran. I was marked down in school for being too quiet, and so had to learn to be what I considered rude in order to get good marks. Becoming Christian in my preteen years meant denying my Muslim father's faith and heritage as being unworthy of salvation. And most of you have heard the story of how coming to a Unitarian church for our family was this wonderful relief from so many divisions we had to live with. It was a place where I could join a youth group that cared about how we create community, cared about including everyone, wanted to explore and be intentional about living our values. And still, it wasn't a great place to be Iranian and American. But it was a place where exploring all of what it takes to be who we are was encouraged, respected, and we were celebrated as young people who could actually make a difference in our lives and in our world. Through college, I studied about Iran and Islam, trying to figure out what parts of it were me. Studied the revolution, the women's role in the revolution. And when I found a job as a counselor in an abortion clinic, I realized that there were so many boundaries to be mended, lines to be healed and crossed, all of this exploring leading me over and over again to these convergences of things that didn't seem like they should go together. So I went to seminary, studied feminism and biblical studies, and I came out of seminary wanting to explore exactly how we bring theology that can free people to where people most need to be freed, to people who are living on the margins, cast out. And as I did that work, which included talking with folks whose lives looked more comfortable, at least financially, and trying to make them engage with the issues of domestic violence and low-income women and people living on the streets, I realized I had a lot that I needed to learn by immersing myself in this experience too. And that is when I pursued the call to join you. Another unlikely place in a lot of ways. I'm told that a member of the search committee actually asked, what does an Iranian minister want with Milton, Massachusetts? A well-intended and valid question. The type of question I hope no one will have to ask one day, but I understand exactly where it came from on that day. So Enrique and Kian and I settled into this lovely town amidst this wonderful community. Along the way, Darius joined us, and I learned that so many of my own biases and prejudice about suburban life were so completely wrong. That what looks like privilege might not always be an advantage, that the struggles of the spirit and the struggles of the flesh are actually not so different between the Tenderloin of San Francisco and the large homes of Milton, or anywhere in between. But the stories are different, and how we tell them matters. How we make our identity out of them matters greatly. How we listen and learn and find ways to make our intentions to build this world of inclusion and hope, of everyone realizing the light in them is meant to shine in the world, all the pieces of that matter incredibly. About 3 years ago, I encountered a new way of understanding this journey of crossing those lines, becoming a bridge across those divisions, learning how to realize the gifts of difference and also the joy of what we have in common. And I've kept getting training and practice in this way of learning and teaching, how to get better and better at connecting, understanding, communicating, working with individuals and organizations on creating common ground in culturally diverse groups without losing the distinctness and the power of our differences. It's a journey of learning how we can match our intentions to be inclusive with the impact of our words and actions and patterns of being in the world. Intention and impact, usually a little bit different, can become aligned so that we can see eye to eye, so to speak. So we can align our behavior and our values, our deep desire to know and be known, with practices that make it possible. It has been powerful, healing work for me in my personal journey, and I felt called to make a life of following the song of these particular nightingales that sing back to me my own story and its power to guide and offer a particular kind of joy and a hard-won gift to the world. You all have been such an important part of this journey, a path I wouldn't have arrived at without the same kind of understanding, of expansiveness, of compassion, if it hadn't been for the ways you have let me know you, trusted me to be with you, seen me for all of who I am, and loved me through all the failings. We've all been on this journey together, of learning different ways to open our hearts, to tell our own stories, and put ourselves in the paths of stories of others we might never otherwise have encountered. We've gone to the Mississippi Gulf Coast together, where folks learned some things about my driving habits. We've been to Mattapan and Dorchester and Roxbury, to Richmond, Virginia, and Augusta, Maine. We visited each other's homes in small group ministries and circle suppers. We've listened to the testimony of those who sit in the pews next to us with whom we might never have otherwise had a deep conversation. We've considered the meaning of our presence here over and over again, engaged in the continued process of becoming a welcoming congregation, created a new covenant, explored possibilities for aligning our property with our mission. We've bumped up against each other when our intentions to reach out, to offer a kind word or curiosity, to act according to conscience have not landed as we had hoped they would. Feelings have been hurt, words have sometimes been misunderstood, unconscious harm has been created. And we've always found ways to open ourselves to deeper understanding, to name those things that need to be said, and hear the things we don't want to hear, and offer each other over and over again the gift of great goodwill. My call to pursue this path beyond the walls of this church is a call that could not have been realized without this time with you, with this church in particular, holding these questions with you, feeling cared for in my own journey of spirit and story, watching so many of you in your own paths to get clearer about all of those important questions in life. As relationships begin and end, as children grow up and move away, as career paths that once seemed forever no longer seem to fit, as circumstances both within us and within the world around us shift, as we keep asking those important questions of ourselves. Though a church this old might pride itself on keeping people around for a very long time, it should also consider it a success when folks move on with hearts full of gratitude to the next fertile field for spirit and God's movement to flourish. This is the core of our faith. To offer the love that knows no bounds to ourselves and each other, to listen to the call of those nightingales and hear what freedom might be for each of us. Free from the bounds of outworn stereotypes into the splendor of the breadth of contradictions we are. Free to listen to the call of goodness in our hearts and learn how we will offer the best of ourselves for the healing and hope of the world. Thank you for all of the ways you've made this possible for me. Thank you for letting me see the truth of that love that resides in each of you. An infinite sea of gratitude I hold in my heart for all of you. Amen. Our hymn as we enter into prayer is number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. We'll remain seated as we sing. Please pray with me. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, Spirit of all the genders in between, and every faithful, open affection, we give thanks for your continual call to us to reach beyond the easy separations, to flow in time and in these streams of the Spirit, to reach beyond easy separations and hard oppositions, to yield our hearts to the messy mix and glorious jumble of human hope and human failing. Help us to listen faithfully to the call to understanding, to be ready with compassion and forgiveness, to hold each other in care, in the faith that growth is possible for us and for those we seek to understand. Help us hear your call to the continued unfolding of each of our beings, to celebrate with all who are or have been, in the midst of struggles of every form and fashion. Into our prayer this morning, we lift up those of this community. Elise, praying for her dear friend Greg, who's undergoing cancer treatment. With Jeff in sorrow for the people of Iraq as their country reels from violence. With Sadie, a prayer for Edna, a third parent of her mother. And a celebration of Father's Day. Help us to lift up praise for those who have offered the act of fathering. Those who have striven to balance the demands of work, marriage, and children with an honest awareness of both joy and sacrifice. Those who have worked to become good fathers, though they lacked a good model for that themselves. For those who continue to offer their children, whom they might feel they failed, their love and support. For those who have felt wounded by neglect and hostility of children they raised. For those who have remained in their children's lives, though their primary relationship with the other parent is gone. For those whose children are adopted, whose love and support has offered healing. For those who have become fathers as stepfathers. Those who have lost a child, and those who hold their children in their hearts always. We praise all of those who have fathered us in their role as mentors and guides, whatever their blood relations, and those who are about to become fathers. May we all, whatever our gender, whatever our relationships, continue to openly delight in the growth of children and take our part in their flourishing, their unfolding beings, an extension of our own, a part of the movement of time and flow of this universe. And we hold special prayers for those we have lost, those who live in our memory and whose love continues to nurture and care for us, to inform our lives and move us forward in inspiration. In silence, we hold all our prayers. Amen.
In the words of Mother Teresa, we may wonder, whom can I love and serve? Where is the face of God to whom I can pray? The answer is simple. That naked one, that lonely one, that unwanted one is my brother and my sister. If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Today, we honor the commitment of our community to each other and to those outside of our walls with this morning's offering, which will be now graciously given and gratefully received.
Our final hymn is sort of a benediction this morning. It can be found in your teal hymnal at 1059. It's called May Your Life Be as a Song. And Jenny's going to just be a lead voice for us in it. Nightingales too yield their own tune. May they lead you to grand adventures in and out of this place. And I close with the words of Rumi. Out beyond all ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I will meet you there. May the songs of all of our hearts sing in beautiful harmony, whether we are near or far. Amen.